Regarding the minimum wage, the first thing you do is got to get your own house in order. So as mayor of Atlanta, I went in and changed on my own and made sure we started paying every full-time employee more than $10 an hour. So that would allow me to lead the conversation. I'm in an extremely conservative southern state. If I were to move a minimum wage bill, which I believe I will before the end of my term, the state would then act to nullify that movement. So this has to be something that we take on both at the state level, but I think in the leading cities, they're going to move on minimum wage because they don't have a choice. But what you can do is do something about what you control. And so that's why I made the decision to move unilaterally, to do that in Atlanta, because I think that's a force multiplier and causes other leading cities across the country to follow suit. Regarding Uber and the taxi cab industry, I think they're going to fight a 15-round fight, and I think that Uber is going to win, and the taxi cab industry is going to have to change and get more flexible. But in the interim, they're going to flat out fight it out, and mayors are going to be in the middle of it because the taxi cab industry was so old and staid and never had real competition, and now it's being forced to innovate. Uber has a real challenge, though. Uber has to maintain the level of quality that made Uber the brand that it is today. And I think that at this point in the life cycle of that business and that space, they haven't had time to go out there and do 5 years and 7 years and 8 years and see is your Uber experience the same. Because I had one the other day that was pretty close to a cab. So they're gonna have to fight that out. I know that I'm gonna get a mean letter, Uber. I love you, but it was pretty tough. So that's what I think.
I really want to almost ditto exactly.
It's
Walter, I'm glad
you
you walked in. I want to ditto what he said. On minimum wage, I'm hearing from Mayor Reed that Georgia and Louisiana are very much like state governments can preempt you from doing stuff. And certainly on the minimum wage, we don't have the authority as mayor of the city to raise the minimum wage in the city, but we can raise minimum wage as it relates to our own employees. I've done the same thing that the mayor has done. And I'm also in favor of raising the minimum wage on the state level. And if people are not interested in state rights and they think the federal government, I'm interested in them doing it on the federal level too. It's a good idea. In my opinion, I think they should do it. We're having the battle with Uber right now in the city of New Orleans as we speak. Our city council is being the host of the battle between the taxi cab industry. I think at the end of the day, Uber is going to win. I think that their technology model is superior. I think their political skills need some work, if I might. But I think at the end of the day, there will be some resolution that is going to be more in favor of Uber than not. Although it does take a little bit of time. As Mayor Reed announced this, you worked on this in New York, transforming a regulatory scheme that has been in place for however many years, where people have used in our city CPNCs to build generational wealth, is not as easy as just coming in and asking the mayor to change it and having them, as I said, with Mayor Bloomberg, lay it down. It actually is going to be a 15-round fight. And it's going to take some time to work out, hopefully sooner rather than later, but that debate will be held. One of the issues, as Kasim said, that we want to do, we want to make sure that people are riding in safe spaces. We told the cab industry you got to have cars that are not older than, the national average I think is 3 years. We kind of kicked it up a little bit in New Orleans and allowed it to be 7, but told them your cabs have to be clean, and you got to work it. But it is a forceful fight, and our city council is full of people on the Uber side and people on the cab side, and it's a battle that I think is going to play itself out over the near future.
I'm telling you, Uber's worth more than Sony, but cab drivers can take you out. So you gotta get in the cab. They say, boy, that mayor, he is sorry. You come to visit Atlanta, they say, boy, that Mayor Reed is sorry as the day is long. Let me tell you how sorry he is while I drive you to your hotel. And
they don't vote in your city.
And I want you to avoid that crime. This guy might knock you out. I mean, it could get really, really
We've just
not
discovered
as easy as it looks.
The real power of the taxi cab industry is in talking about you behind your back.
The taxi cab industry is powerful in lots of ways. I mean, lots of ways.
Of course.
I mean, anybody that tries to make change in a city runs up against that. I think that, they don't like bike lanes, they don't like bus lanes, they don't like plazas, they don't like Uber, they don't, you know, you name it, they don't like it. In fact, I think if anybody knew who I was, a cabbie, I'd be dead. But I do think that shared economy is here to stay. That train has left the station. It is happening. And you take a look now, Uber, Lyft, Zipcar, you've got 2 million people that are using this right now today. You know, this is here. It's in like, I forget, something like 34 cities or 34 countries, and you've got like Airbnb out there now, you know, that's in like 165,000 cities. I mean, it's here. I mean, you basically, it's only limited by, you know, the infrastructure that you have, the housing stock, and having an internet connection. I mean, that's the new global economy. That's the new global innovation that's happening. And it's going to continue to happen over the next 10 years as we re-look at what assets we have in place and reimagine them. In a world where people want to get around differently, people don't want to own a car. It actually changes the entire car ownership model. It really flips it on its head.
Those are actually, as Bruce said earlier, 2 examples, Airbnb and Uber, of disrupting. It's a complete and total disruption. It's moving stuff around in dramatic ways. We live in a representative democracy. There are city councils that you have to go through, people that you have to talk to, folks that you have to educate, people that you have to take things away from, people that you're giving things to. That process takes a bit of time, but it is absolutely disrupting and changing dramatically. And the market at the end of the day and the demand of the customer is going to drive what we get to. How we get there and how fast we get there will be different from city to city and fight to fight, but the battle's joined. You can go on the tube right now and go to London and see the fight. You saw it in New York. You can see it in New Orleans. You can see it in Atlanta. You can see it in San Francisco, wherever. And it'll be joined, and it's going to take a little while to get out.
But like any new technology, there's, of course, growing pains in the whole sharing economy. My wife pulled her car to the curb the other afternoon, and some dude with a briefcase tried to get in. So, you're not my ride. So, we're working out the kinks.